Many of us are fascinated with chilling cases. People despise those who harm the innocent, but there is something about these stories that draw us in. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a look at 3 chilling discoveries and finds. Elwyn Crocker, a Walmart Santa, hid this secret. In December of 2018, 2 missing children's bodies were found in their father's backyard in a small rural town in Georgia. Police visited Elwyn Crocker's home to do a welfare check on his 14-year-old daughter Mary after they received a distressed 911 call. The caller explained that they had not seen the girl in 2 months and were worried something had happened to her. When the sheriffs first questioned Mary's whereabouts, the family claimed that she had gone to live with her mother. Finding conflicting details in their interviews, the sheriffs pressed the issue and eventually searched the property. It was only then that Crocker Sr. led them to this children's grave in the backyard. Elwyn Jr. had gone missing 2 years prior when he was 14. Neither of them were ever officially reported as missing. Crocker, a 50-year-old who had worked as a Walmart Santa, was arrested for taking the lives of the children, child cruelty, and concealment of loss of lives, along with his wife and stepmother of the children, Candice Crocker. Additionally, Candice Crocker's brother, their mother, and her boyfriend were also taken into custody. The sheriffs found a 3rd child in the house with special needs, thankfully still alive. Mary and her brother Elwyn Jr. were previously enrolled in the county school system but were taken out to be homeschooled shortly before the brothers' disappearance in 2016. Members of the community explained that their classmates previously noticed red hands and marks. Child Services received a call once when a girl saw Elwyn Jr. being beaten with a belt by one of the adults. Child Services came out and claimed there was nothing wrong, calling the complaint false. Crocker Sr.'s cousin, Israel Patterson, was horrified when he heard about the deceased children. He recounted his estranged cousin's cruel and mistreated childhood at the hands of Crocker's stepfather. Patterson believes there is a curse in the family, as their grandfather's cousin was the notorious Donald Henry Gaskins. The mental and physical treatment Crocker suffered as a young kid transformed him into a vile man himself. Although it remains unknown exactly how the children passed away, investigators learned about the rough treatment these siblings faced over the years. From January 2018 until her disappearance in October 2018, Mary was beaten and starved while locked in a crate. They zip-tied her so she could not move and would give her food containing ingredients like rice vinegar so she couldn't eat it. They would drag the crate into the bathroom and hose her down whenever she needed a bath. 2 years prior, her brother Elwyn had suffered similar treatment. In November 2020, the stepmother Candice accepted a deal and pleaded guilty to maltreatment of the children and covering up their loss of lives. She chose to testify against the others to escape capital punishment. She will receive life in prison without parole. The grandmother's boyfriend also pleaded guilty earlier that year. The others have pleaded not guilty and will start their trials in February 2021. They are all facing capital punishment. Carla Valdez disappearance. Peru is one of the top destinations in the world for many travelers. Machu Picchu, the Nazca Lines, and the Amazon jungle all make up a country of untold beauty and delicious foods that excite every visitor. One such traveler was Carla Valdez, a 35-year-old American. She had traveled alone to 20 countries by 2018, but never experienced Peru, her ultimate dream. Carla was legally blind but extensively traveled because she did not want to be limited by her disability. When her friend, Alicia Garcia Steele, went to a wedding in Lima, Peru in December 2018, Carla jumped on the opportunity and tagged along. Nearing the end of their 2-week trip, she decided to hike Machu Picchu alone, despite concern from her friend. She never returned from that hike. Her friend was nervous about the hike Carla was on and texted her numerous times, begging for an update and notification that she safely arrived at the site. It took 12 hours until Carla finally responding, apologizing for not messaging earlier due to a lack of Wi-Fi. Carla also explained in her texts that she had a big problem to resolve before leaving for home, but never told her friend what it was. When she failed to make her flight back home, Alicia Steele reported her missing. Police discovered that she joined a group of Argentinians and Spaniards to hike Huayna Picchu, but returned with them to Cusco after some hours. They all went to dinner together and danced at a club before spending the night in a hostel. Early the next morning, a surveillance camera caught her getting into a cab outside her hostel. She left personal belongings and souvenirs behind, so police assumed she intended to return. She ended up taking 2 cabs to get to the village of Pisac. It was there that she vanished. Immediately after receiving news of his daughter's disappearance, Carlos Valpoez flew from Texas to Peru to search for her. The 71-year-old traveled throughout the region, visiting various villages and handing out flyers to everyone. He realized that the locals distrusted the police and were wary of revealing information, so he took it upon himself to lead the investigation. It had taken the authorities a week after she went missing to figure out what cabs she took. Her father was the one who discovered the group she spent time with, the backpack she left at the hostel, and the surveillance footage. A pharmacy surveillance camera caught Carla's last known image 1 hour after leaving her hostel. She was walking along the street heading towards Pisac Archaeological Park. Nearby street vendors confirmed that she asked them for directions to the park that day. The archaeological ruins and terraces sit on a mountainside valley of 4 square kilometers, surrounded by jungle. Police tried to send in rescue teams and dogs, but found nothing. They now suspect that she was a victim of foul play. Her mother and brother remain in New York, but assisted the father by sending money, studying maps of the region, and making phone calls to receive help. The US State Department will not help the family, claiming they have no jurisdiction to launch investigations in Peru. The officials in Peru, though, say that the US authorities have made no offer to help. It has now been 2 years, and the family still has no answers. They set up a GoFundMe page, which has provided her father with the funds to continue his desperate search. The disappearance of Tenach Chitambo. A brother and sister from Bulawayo, Zimbabwe, visited Victoria Falls when the 25-year-old brother went missing. On March 25, 2012, Tenach Chitambo was touring the national park with his sister Mitchell. In the morning, they explored the rainforest near the Zambezi River, spending a few hours on tour. They then broke for lunch and visited the Shearwater restaurant near the entrance to the park. After their lunch, Tenach decided to head back for a solo tour of the falls, but he never returned. His sister grew worried at his absence and by 2 p.m. chose to notify the local rangers. The rangers immediately jumped into action and set up a search of the forest for him. The national park covers an expanse of 23 square kilometers, and they had no real idea of where he went. Around the same time as the search began, a witness came to the park entrance and told the rangers he had seen a man loitering around the falls and seemed a bit suspicious. It is unclear whether that man was Tenach or not, and the lead eventually went nowhere. The Parks and Wildlife Management Authority set up a broad search of the park with many volunteers, but failed to find any clue of his whereabouts. After a week, they ultimately suspended it and sent the search and rescue teams home. They continued the investigation and conducted searches on smaller levels, but had no leads to follow. The waterfalls, river, and dense forest conditions make it extremely difficult, especially after a rainy season. Unfortunately, at least one person passes away at Victoria Falls every year, with many more sustaining injuries. They stand too close to the edge and slip on wet rocks or sit in the water and get swept away by strong surges. The management and investigators claimed they would proceed with the case, but 9 years later, his family still has no answer. The authorities never found a body and believed that it might be a case of the man taking his own life. His sister and parents vehemently deny that this was the case, but too much time has passed to ever know for sure. But what do you make of these chilling and horrific discoveries? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.